Hi, I'm Andrew Dodds from Stack Labs. We help you automate your business through the use of no-code tools and AI. And today we're looking at how you can automate documents, in this case, a sales contract, from your Airtable data at the push of a button. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be looking at a tool called DocsAutomator and how we can integrate that with Airtable. So if you would like to be able to generate a contract from your CRM, your Airtable CRM, at the push of a button, this one's for you. Let's jump into it. So I'm over here in my Airtable data, and the first thing that we're going to do is build out the structure of a really simple CRM. And so to start, before we even do that, I'm going to show you my template that I've created. Now, DocsAutomator is an amazing tool. It's free to use for a certain amount of documents a month. And it allows you to create a Google Docs template and populate that with your Airtable data, connects the two. And so you'll see that I've got my Airtable template, or excuse me, my Google Docs template here. And the highlights show you the information that is going to be dynamic. And so when you go through and create this template, you're gonna, wherever you're gonna bring in information from your Airtable data, you're going to do these brackets with a placeholder text, okay? So you'll see that some of these things are things that we'll be recreating as fields in Airtable in order to accomplish this. Now, they do have a way that you can edit your template in real time once you've uploaded it into DocsAutomator, and I'll show you that as well. It's going to be especially important around the line items where you could have one or many products that are in, let's say, your quote or your sales contract. Okay, so we're going to look at how to do this, and as with most of these things, you need to start with a good data foundation, and so that's what we're going to do. We're going to have 3 tables. I've created them. We're going to store information about our companies on one table, information about the opportunities on another table, and then information about the line items related to those opportunities on the final table. So let's go ahead and just fill out for the company. You know, we're just going to have the name of the company. Okay, so I'll do a few here really quick. Let's do Amazon, Figma, and Adobe. Those are some pretty fun companies. So that's all we're going to do here. We are going to link. If you don't know what a linked record is, feel free to watch other videos that we've got on that. We're going to link to opportunities. This will allow us to associate opportunities with the various companies that we are going to be selling our services to. Okay. And you'll see that when I create a linked record here, we've now got a linked record here back to the company. Okay. So the opportunity is going to have a name. It's going to have a total. So this is actually going to be a formula field of the line items. So I'm just going to put a placeholder here for now. All right. I'm also going to want today's date. So I'll tell you more about why in a moment. So we can use a formula for today's date by calling the function today. Okay. That'll be good. And you'll see it fills it in there. Okay. We don't need it with the time, so I'll take that out of the formula, out of the configuration. We're going to have payment terms, so that's going to actually be a single select, and we're going to offer some various different payment terms. So let's say we've got one version that's 50% up front, and then balance, let's say 50% on completion. And then maybe we have retainer due up front. And we can set this up to have a default value. So we'll say that our default terms are 50-50. So when you create a new record, you'll see that it will default to that 50-50. Okay. So that's pretty good. Maybe we've got some more sort of text that should be dynamic around the requirements. So let's create a field here that is called additional requirements. Okay. So we've got today's date. I'm going to go ahead and let's delete that one. Let's add in a company here. We'll call it Amazon. The name of this opportunity is to be Cool Opportunity. Okay, so this is looking pretty good. And what we want to do now is link to the line items table. So this will allow us to tag one or many line items. Okay, so we've got that now. That looks pretty good. All right, so over on the line items table, we're going to have the line item name. It's going to associate with an opportunity. Okay. It's going to have a cost associated with it, right? So let's do, we can do currency here. Now, you could choose to do your cost with like a quantity as well, or something like that. Kind of depends on how you want to show it in your line items table. Like if you wanted to show a per unit cost, you could do that. So I think we'll just do that for the sake of showing how that would be done. So let's say our cost per unit. Let's say that's going to be, let's go with 1,000. And then we'll have a quantity. Quantity. So we can give this a number. Let's give it 2. And then there's going to be a total for the line item, which will be a formula. And this, of course, will just be the cost per unit times the quantity. So that's fairly simple. We want to format that as currency, of course. All right. This is going to be called Cool Line Item. And we're going to link it to our opportunity, which is Cool Opportunity. Okay. And then let's do one more line item. Another line item for the same opportunity. And quick tip, you can drag and drop like that to copy the same values. This is going to be $1,500 per unit, and we're going to do 5. So that'll give us our amount. All right. So that looks pretty good, yeah? And then on the opportunity here, we're going to come back to our total placeholder. So we've got this here, right? And what we can do, we're going to use what's called a roll-up field. This allows you to summarize information through your linked record of the line items. So I can say, look at the line items links. Here they are. And please summarize that line item total. Sum the values. That's going to give us a total amount for the overall contract, okay? And then we're going to have just some additional requirements. These are the additional custom notes for this contract that relate to Amazon, okay? So you can imagine that you've got sort of like your standard language and terms, and then you might need to, depending on the contract you're sending out, add a custom piece to that. This is where that would happen. So now let's take a look at our template again and see if we've covered all of the dynamic fields we're expecting. We may need to come back to update it slightly. So we've got the client name. You'll see that using today's date, that's why we created and did that formula. We've got the requirements, so those extra requirements. We've got unit description we don't have, so we'll be creating this table a little differently. You have to do that when you upload in general, and so I'll show you how to do that. Terms we have, which is the payment terms, and then date and client. So all of this looks pretty good. It helps to highlight this as you go through and you're building it to start. You don't have to get it perfect because you can tweak it when you're in DocsAutomator, which is what I'll be showing you next. So over in DocsAutomator, when you first log in, it looks like this, and you can create a new automation. Decide what source you're going to connect. We're connecting Airtable. I'm going to name this contract creation. Oh, there's one other thing we've missed actually that we need to jump back and do, which is like when you create this, we want to have an attachment field where the contract will get uploaded as a PDF, which is really handy. So we're going to just have one that we call contract copy. And we're going to point this to our DocsAutomator automation. Okay, so we're going to import an existing template. I've called this demo template. So let me find that. Grabs that. And then here's the thing, this is maybe not readily obvious, but you can actually go into edit mode on this. You'll see this here. And you'll see that it's actually showing us our document. And any of the edits we make here, this is a fantastic feature, by the way. And any of the edits we make here actually change in the Google Doc template. This is fantastic. One thing you have to do every time, even if you have a table, is you have to create dynamic rows of data. So this is where I want to put it, and I have this as a placeholder, but I'm going to delete it out, okay? And I'll sort of show you how this works. Now, remember, you could have one or many line items, so this is a little different, right? It's a little more dynamic, and that's why it kind of requires this tweak. So I'm going to delete that, okay? We're going to come back in here in our doc, and where it says dynamic rows of data here on the right, we can say add line items. And what's cool is now you're building a table here, so you can add a header row, and we can do this in the however we want. So our first one is going to be like the product name, okay? And the placeholder is, we'll just call it product name. All right, so that's column 1. Column 2, we want to have quantity. Remember, we have that from our base, and we're just placeholder name is quantity. Okay, and then let's say column 3 is line item total, or let's just say total in this case, and line item total. And so basically what's cool about this now, when I add the line items, I actually think it adds it to the bottom, which is unfortunate. You'll see that we have it here. So we're going to drag this up. We will drag it from the right, okay? There we go. We're just going to drag it up where we want it here. Okay. That's a little weird. Okay. Let's get this right. This might be the hardest thing that you do with this. All right, there it is. So now these are going to take dynamic information, okay? And what we're ready to do at this point is map our Airtable fields with our template fields. So we're going to click, actually I'm going to do one more thing before we do that, which is the grand total. And that's not dynamic, right? That doesn't have the chance of repeating. It's just summarizing the dynamic data, okay? So what we can do is insert one row below and just call out a grand total like this. Okay, bold it, and then give it some kind of name. Let's just call it grand total. Use those 2 curly brackets, and we're done. We can save and continue. Okay, so we're going to go to the next step, and you'll see it just shoots me down into this 3rd step. So I'm going to find the base name, which is our generate invoice demo. There it is. There it is. And your primary table is going to be the opportunities table, right? Because that's where most of the information is coming from. Okay. And then I'm going to hover over this, and it says, please select a field from your table that will be used to name the generated documents. So for us, I think that makes sense for the opportunity name. Okay, so we're going to do name. And then the attachment field is the contract copy, as you'll remember. And then you can choose, if I want to generate this subsequently, does it overwrite the existing attachment or not? Usually I set it to that. If I've got to do revisions, then I have the most up-to-date every time. It doesn't crowd the field. And so you'll basically see that now what we've got is our primary table fields, and then we have a line item table 1 field. So first we'll handle this mapping, and then I'll tell you how to do the line items. All right, so let's go ahead and map this. So client, you'll see that when I click on this, I'm going to see all of the information from my Airtable table. So company is the name of the client. Remember, we have that formula for today. We've got requirements, which is our additional requirements. We've got the grand total, which is total in our table, and we've got those terms, which is payment terms. And now what we need to do is tell this table what is the linked field that it's going to be looking at, which is this, line items. So I'm going to go back to DocsAutomator and tell it line items. And no specific view or grouping, so that's all good. And you'll see that those fields from that table we created in the template step come in. Okay. And what this is now showing us when we map the fields are not the fields on the opportunity table, but it's going to be showing us the fields here. So we're going to want to do name, cost per unit, quantity, and line item total. So we're going to come back to the DocsAutomator here. And you'll notice we forgot to do our cost per unit, okay? So what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to say save and continue. And I'm going to go back to the template step. All right, here it is. Got it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in one here. So we've got our quantity, and I'm going to add a column to the right. This is going to be cost per unit, and that's going to be CPU, let's say. And then we'll save that. Save and continue. So that should be available in our Airtable mapping now when we come in to edit the info here. There it is. So let's go ahead and map to those now. So we've got our name, we've got our quantity, we've got our cost per unit, and we've got our line item total. So those are mapped properly now. So this brings us to step 4. We've done a lot. We've built an Airtable structure. We've built a template. We've mapped the template to the Airtable structure. And now there are things that we can do in terms of how the document is generated. Like how long does the PDF last? What is the locale? Some of those things. I'm not going to edit any of this information. You can also, after creation, do things like save it to your Google Drive, send an email. It could be in an email, that type of thing, which is pretty cool. But these are all optional steps, okay? Then you've got a couple of ways that you can basically trigger this creation. So you could use an automation script. So you'll see here, scripting extension or a webhook. Okay, and there's a video that you can watch on how to do this if you're new to these types of things. But the Airtable webhook or a webhook to DocsAutomator is really easy to do. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to click to copy, and I'll show you how to set it up. So what you do is you come over to your ops table. Okay, you're going to create a formula. So find a formula field, and we're going to paste that link that it gave us. And basically what this is a unique link that we could send information to, and it's telling it the Airtable record ID. And it's all set up. All you have to do is name this. And so then instead of clicking on the link to trigger it, what I like to do is add a button. And the button field, I don't know if you've ever used in Airtable, is pretty cool. You can customize how it looks a little bit. And I'm just going to call it Create Contract. Create Contract. And we're going to set it just to open that webhook, because we're literally just going to be visiting that URL to trigger and kick everything off. Okay. So to do that, we just reference the webhook field, which is the formula, and we click Create. So every record is going to have a unique version of this webhook. Because this part is unique, Airtable has underlying record ID. And to get this all kicked off and ready to go, I'm just going to go ahead and save this. Okay. So I think I've got everything done here the way that I want to do it. I think it saves automatically, actually. Let's see. Might have to turn it on. No, yeah, it just saves automatically. So contract creation, it's active. This is great. So let's give it a shot, see if it works. So we've got our opportunity here, and I can say, okay, it's ready to create the contract. See, it opens this. Okay, and this is actually going to generate a preview of the document. You don't have to do this, though. You can just close it. Usually I just close it. And you'll see that what it does is it uploads your contract here. So let's see how it looks. Okay. You see that it's dynamically brought in a bunch of this great information. Here's our additional notes. Here's our pricing. Here's our payment schedule, right? So you've completely automated the creation with this template, and you could create a bunch of different templates and kind of use conditionals to bring in dynamic pieces of the information. Like, for instance, if I wanted to change the terms, retainer due up front, I'm just going to recreate it. Watch here on the contract copy. You'll see that it's actually going to flash green and get replaced. Boom. Gets replaced, and you'll see now if we open this up, this version is the one where the retainers due up front. Hey, well, thanks for spending time with me, and I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you got value from it. Like, subscribe, follow us along. We've always got videos like this that we're throwing out, tutorials that we're sharing, so that you can automate things in your business. If you've got a project or you want to bounce some ideas off of someone, feel free to reach out to us as well and help you out with our consulting. And but more importantly, hope this helped and hope you can use it somehow, and I'll see you in the next video.